Conway on the record. This is the official podcast of the Log Cabin Democrats. And with me today, of course, is Jeanette Anderton, the editor of the Log Cabin Democrat.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you, ma'am?
Great.
And our very special guest today, Mr. Mayor Bart Castleberry. I've been trying for the past few days, sir, to get that introduction right. Is it Mr. Mayor? Is that appropriate?
How about just Bart?
Bart, okay. All right, Bart works for me. When we start these things out, we'd like to learn a little bit about you. You've been the mayor of Conway for 3-4 years?
Oh, actually, I just finished my first term. I'm starting the first year of my second term.
All right. Well, and it's been quite a year, I know, as the pandemic hit the city and so much to deal with there. I guess before I hand it over to Jeanette, I'll ask, how did you find yourself to be the mayor of Conway?
Well, I've been working for the city of Conway since 1981, and I went to work for the Conway Fire Department, and I spent 32 and a half years there, 20 of those years as fire chief. And when I retired, I became the director of permits and inspections, and I just felt like I had a good overall view of the city. And a number of folks asked me if I would run for mayor, and I thought, well, yeah, we'll give this a whirl. So my wife and I, we prayed about it, and I felt like I was supposed to do it, and here we are.
You've done a great job, sir, especially through this time. I was following you and the city on Facebook, and y'all were giving updates throughout the pandemic and throughout the flood that we had, which that's been, 2 years ago. You see, you'll learn that through these past few years, I'm trying to figure out the timing of everything. But y'all kept us updated on the flood and through the pandemic, and y'all just did a great job.
Well, thank you. We've had a lot of tremendous help. And, we've got a lot of team effort, and it works well for Conway.
All right. Well, I'll turn it over to the real journalist here, Miss Jeanette Anderton.
I appreciate that. Okay, so the Donaghy Avenue rebuild is underway. Mm-hmm. So for all these drivers who are out there taking detours and going around, let's remind them how wonderful it's going to be when it's done. Talk a little bit about what all is going to be included.
Okay, well, it's going to be, it's going to have a sore spot or two till we get there, and hopefully we'll be finished by early 2023. And that does sound like a long time, but we have a real good partnership with Conway Corporation. Conway Corporation, as well as CenterPoint and AT&T are all out in front of us right now, moving all of their infrastructure. Mm-hmm. And so we were able to coordinate with all those guys. And then once they get out of the way, and you're going to start seeing a lot of development there, we're going to have actually 3 new roundabouts on Donaghy Street. The first one will be at Prince and Donaghy. The second one will be at Caldwell and Donaghy. And then we skip a block and go to College in Donaghy. So that's going to be a tremendous traffic mover there. It is going to take some time. We're going to have bike lanes. We're going to have sidewalks there, pedestrian walkways there. And UCA's partnered with us. One of the concerns we had was keeping the area clean.
Sure.
Because regular street sweepers, some of the areas are going to be built for bike, pedestrian, and traffic, so it'll be fairly narrow there. So we had to have a special street sweeper just for that, and UCA has decided that they would help us with that. So once it gets finished, it's going to be very aesthetically pleasing to the eye, mm-hmm. And it's just going to be a tremendous north-south corridor for Conway. And we're really excited about it. But it's going to take us a while to get there. And I know folks are already upset with the way it is. But we're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Oh, absolutely. And you talked about, Conway Corp and all, mm-hmm. they're doing the infrastructure first. I know that was something in the city. They decided to take a smarter approach when it comes to streets. They had, I think it was Asset Max or something, come in and grade the roads and see how can we best use our money and, going in rather than going in and fixing Donaghy and then having to dig it up to replace the infrastructure and utilities and stuff. So
yeah, that's worked really well. Asset Max has graded our streets and shown which one that we need to that we can overlay and save them. And if we can save that street and overlay it, then we can add 10 years of life to that street. And if we'll maintain our overlay, we can add another 10 years. So if you look at the cost analysis on it, you're talking about overlaying a street and adding 20 years of life to it versus a rebuild, which is very expensive.
So with the roundabouts, I love them personally. I know not everyone does. Like the feedback as y'all add them. I mean, when I first moved to Conway, which was maybe 14 years ago, was it hard to get people used to that sort of traffic pattern? Is there some challenges there?
Well, I'll answer it the best way I know. First off, I got to take my hat off to my predecessor, Tab Townsend, and Ronnie Hall, who recently just passed away. Ronnie was a tremendous street director. But I've got to give all the credit to Tab and Ronnie for the development of the roundabouts in Conway. And it's been good for us. It moves a lot of traffic. I'll put it to you the best way I know how. Drivers from the ages of 16 to 35, we'll say, do really, really well with the roundabouts. They just buzz right through them. Then you've got the mid gap there that actually do really well as well. Then you've got my group. and I love them too, but sometimes I get in and think, wow, where am I supposed to be going? But yeah, for Conway as a whole, they're working very, very well.
And if anyone's listening right now that doesn't know how to use a roundabout, keep right. That's really
there you go.
Yeah, there you go. Right. That's the easiest way.
That's the only rule to a roundabout. Yield left, keep right.
And really, for the most part, I hear very few complaints about the roundabouts in the city. The ones that folks struggle with the most, including myself, are the ones out on the east side of town off of Dave Ward.
I'm sure over there by Sam's.
Yeah, you got to burn your toes on that. but the rest of them are very
I've seen some interesting choices on that one. All right. Well, let's switch gears for a minute. A public pool or an aquatic center or something has been on Conway's wish list forever.
Right.
And a couple of years ago, you guys announced that in 2021, you would bring a bond issue before the people to kind of address that. So, is there a special election coming in November? Are we still, what's going on with that?
Well, you're right. It has been on people's minds a long time in Conway, and we had to get to 2021 because we had to pay our current bond issue down enough to where there would be enough money to finance there. It will take a vote of the people, and it will not increase any taxes or anything you're paying now because it will be funded through the A&P Commission. There's actually Sheila Isby, who's one of our councilwomen, is actually chairing a committee right now to look at the aquatic center. Steve Ibbotson from the Parks Department is on it, as well as Felicia from office. But we've also made it a little bit larger because, we recently did our first citizen survey so that we could have a strategic plan for the city, which I think is very important for our city. And
that's a 5-year plan?
It's a 5-year plan. Okay. And we're going to do a survey annually just to see how folks think if we're doing a good job or what we need to change and reshuffle on. But we learned from that survey that not only are people very interested in swimming, but they're also, one of the things that bring people to Conway is leisure time and things you can do in recreation. So we have also learned that while we have good facilities for those, they're full. Mm-hmm. So while we're looking at aquatics, we're also going to look at updating our actually building a new soccer complex, which can be an economic driver in the city for soccer tournaments, things like that. And actually, we're partnering with the Human Development Center out here with Sarah and her group. They're tremendous to work with to hopefully put a facility out there. Basketball, volleyball, pickleball.
That is.
Yes.
So hot right now.
What is pickleball?
It's
go ahead.
If I understand it right, it's a mixture of tennis, badminton, and ping pong.
Okay.
Yeah,
all things I'm terrible at.
It's like a smaller tennis court and a smaller paddle, but yeah, it's very competitive.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
And my wife bought us 2 paddles here just recently. She said we're getting ready to play.
All right.
So, but anyway, we've brought in people who are passionate about each of those, tennis as well. And Sheila has put her committee together, and they're taking input from citizens large, but they also have a group of people who are interested in all those things, working to see what we can do.
There's got to be some challenges. I'm going to forget to ask this question if I don't ask it right now, but is there another city in Arkansas or anywhere that could say they have had the growth that we've had over 10 years, right? I mean, we're at
Well, Northwest
70,000.
Arkansas.
Northwest Arkansas.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, though.
But, right, they've got Walton money. So Conway, look at what it's doing just on its own.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
There's
but if
gotta
you
be
look
some
at Faulkner County as a whole, if you look at Valonia and Greenbrier and Mayflower, they're all growing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a good time to be here.
no doubt. So speaking of, Conway, so the city was Conway became the second city in the state before the statewide mask mandate. We passed a citywide mask mandate. So if we hit the markers on March 31st, the state is going to drop its mandate to a guideline instead. But will the citywide mask mandate still be in place? Is that going to continue?
We're going to follow Governor Asa Hutchinson's lead. So if the governor feels like that it's time that we can step back from the mask mandate, then yes, we will follow that lead.
Okay, and certainly we want to remind people that private businesses can still require Walmart, Target, any store or any business can still require people to wear masks, even if there's not a mandate. So.
And if you as an individual feel like you are more comfortable with one,
Sure.
that you can do that as well. When we did the mask mandate, we brought in infectious disease people from Conway Regional, from Baptist, from State Health, and we asked their opinion. And they presented to the council, and so after they gave their opinion, then the council voted that yes, this is what we'll do in the city, and the businesses were very appreciative of it and supportive.
Sure.
But we will follow the governor in his recommendations.
Okay. We talked about Donaghy Avenue because that's a big one going on, but what are some of the other road projects that are on the horizon?
Oh wow!
I know it's going.
Yeah, well,
I
that's
see
great.
crews out everywhere.
Yeah,
So.
we don't. I get tickled sometimes at folks because they're, when are you going to do something about streets in Conway? Well, in the last 4 years, we have resurfaced over 100 miles of streets and rebuilt a number of streets, and that's going to be ongoing. Salem Road is a big project coming up. We did not choose to tackle Salem at the same time that we tackled Donaghy because they're both north-south movers, and we did not want to tie up traffic. We did recently receive a little over $3 million in a grant from Metroplan for the bridge to be replaced there at Salem, which was that was going to be our constrictor. We could have rebuilt Salem and widened it and taken care of it, but then we would have had a constrictor there at the bridge. So Metroplan gave us a grant. We're going to replace that bridge and widen it, and we're going to take the bike pedestrian crowd underneath the bridge.
Oh,
instead
wow.
of crossing over Salem, so they'll actually go under. So that'll help us move traffic there. Salem's a big one. We just finished just a while back the Irby and Salem roundabout. Our next roundabout that you're going to see is going to be Salem and Tyler.
That was going to be my next question.
Yeah, and we just and the neighbors in that area who own property have worked so well with the city and our purchasing of their right of ways. We've got all the right of way purchased, and Conway Corporation is getting ready to move their infrastructure. I think you'll start seeing some dirt work there probably in the next 6 to 8 weeks, and then from there we're going to look at Ferris and College will be another one. And then we'll just kind of do our traffic studies and see where we go from there. But yes, roundabouts are going to continue in Conway and street projects. Like I said, our citizen survey that we did with over 1,500 respondents, their biggest concern or what showed the most interest is what people told me 4 years ago when I was running for mayor, is that streets and drainage are the big issues. And I plan on continuing focusing on those for the next 3 years and 9 months.
You brought up drainage. I'm glad you did. I didn't even have that on my list, but I know that's another thing that you guys have been working on a lot over the past few years. So talk a little bit about how you've addressed drainage.
Well, the street department actually purchased a robotic camera, and downtown floods. When we have a large rain, they actually cameraed all of their downtown street drainage ditches underneath our buildings, and they found basketball goals and recycling containers and trash containers, the big green ones, and mattresses and everything else. So they spent some time cleaning those out, as well as the project that we're working on Markham Street, which is another big street project.
Oh, yes.
That's really changing the look over there. As you know, we're going to have a new park over there, and the area was originally going to have a detention pond, but since then our new planning director has worked with a group, and it's actually going to be a water filtration system, but it will also detain water and then filter it as it moves it out. But it will also help with our flooding downtown. And then in a lot of our outflowing areas on the outskirts of downtown, we've taken Finley Benson's crew has gone in there and cleaned out those areas. Part of our problem now is our old infrastructure is starting to fall in, especially some of our block ditches and things like that. And actually, street money cannot really be used for drainage unless it's within so many feet of that street. And actually, so we've got to come up with a funding source for drainage and see what we can do to bring that forward. But those are two areas that we really want to concentrate on for the next few years.
Okay, so let's one of the things I try to do is to inform people. And I know people say, why are they spending money on this when that money should be used for So, can you kind of concisely find a way to explain to people, about the funds in the city and how they have to be used?
Yeah. Federal and state law really dictate the way many of our funds are spent, specifically streets. With the money there. But our department heads have a lot of influence in that too, as well as the city council. But it's people want to know, why don't we use A&P funds to do this, and this?
That's what we get from readers all the time.
Yeah, by law, A&P funds can only be used for parks and rec and advertising tourism and promotion. Mm-hmm. Yeah, yes. Yeah, we cannot move those funds anywhere else.
Yeah, no, you can't use that to pave a street. Sorry.
No, if you could, we pave a lot of streets.
Right.
Yeah. Well, that was kind of why I asked that question earlier. It's like as fast as this city is growing and how y'all are getting it done and allocating funds is impressive. I mean, honestly, it is. So anyway.
And people ask me or call the office and specifically if there's an art project in a roundabout or somewhere, why are you wasting that money on that? Well, first of all, art is a good thing. It also makes your roundabout safer. But what a lot of folks don't realize is the arts projects are funded by a voluntary tax. Mm-hmm. So you get to choose, and you get to choose if you want to pay that tax.
I like the art. I'm for it. I choose yes.
It adds, but it's not coming from the city's general fund. It's a voluntary tax.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. And you recently gave the State of the City. We won't go too deep into that, but do you want to just touch on a couple of the highlights?
Well, I think some of the things that I know everyone's tired of hearing about COVID-19, but we did okay with that. Now, we had as far as our real numbers, our true numbers, last year was the first year that we received money from our internet sales tax. So we don't have any really solid numbers that we can compare just how big of an impact that COVID-19 had on the city. We did quite well. We had 1 month that was pretty well flat, but other than that, we hit in the positive. We were able to work with our restaurants and with our hotels. The council passed an ordinance that allowed me to sign an emergency declaration where the restaurants could actually sell their excess meat, their excess fruit, their excess vegetables. They could also sell their cleaning supplies, as well as the hotels could do the same with their cleaning supplies, and then they could restock through their vendors and sell again where they were actually working like grocery stores. So I think we did very well as a whole with COVID-19. As far as streets and moving forward there, the city street department has done exceptionally well on keeping things moving. As you know, during the snowstorm, those guys worked day and night, keeping things moving and going forward. But as far as the state of the city, Conway is doing quite well. I read an article the other day where I think we came in third in the nation for Generation Z. And seeking apartments here. So, and that's important. They are, from what I understand, they are the most educated, most technologically advanced generation alive. And we need to keep those young folks here, because one of the things that makes Conway attractive, and I know I've got off chased rabbits here.
Oh, no.
One thing that makes Conway attractive to corporations wanting to move into Conway is our workforce with our 3 colleges. But Conway is also very well blessed. Not only do we have our 3 colleges, but we have a number of young men and women who are plumbers and electricians and HVAC. And that's very important for a growing city too. Those are somewhat lost and dying arts.
Which is a shame because those professions are always going to be necessary and are lucrative too.
So a lot of folks don't know, but I'm a master plumber.
Yeah.
If I would have stayed in plumbing, I'd have been a bazillionaire by now.
Yeah.
But absolutely, Conway's just a great city to live.
Yeah, I know, and you've talked about it before. Conway has a nice balance
does.
between, we have the tech jobs, and then we also have the trade jobs. So.
We do. I have 3 sons. My oldest son is finishing up his PhD in Syracuse, New York. My middle son is a captain paramedic firefighter with Maumelle and runs a side business, a farm. And then my youngest son is a licensed commercial electrician. So with our family, we stretch the gamut there. So it's a really good mix, and Conway's a lot like that mix.
That's exactly right. Yeah, it's nice balance. So is there anything that I didn't ask you about that you want to add?
Let me think. No, just keep learning how to drive in the roundabouts.
Again, yield
Plenty of
left.
videos online.
Keep right. It's simple. You have to remember 2 things.
right. There you
Keep
go.
right, yield left. There are 2 rules. Really, they're not that hard.
Yeah, I think you're going to see a lot of great things coming. We hired a part-time bicycle and pedestrian director, Terry Coddington. We're, the old landfill, we've got over 150 acres up there that was really just growing grass. We partnered with the Walton Foundation and with Conway Corporation, and we're planning on putting a mountain bike area in up there, as well as a walking area to make it more usable. Pompey Park, which is over there by...
That's where they collect the toads for Toad Suck Day. Yes.
just west of Conway High School there. We want to build a monument there to honor our military personnel, not only our veterans who have gone on before, but our veterans who are serving now. It's not a memorial monument. It's strictly a monument to offer the men and women men and women in the armed services and their families here in Conway. So we want to build that monument, and then Terry's also worked there. We're going to have immediately west of there another mountain bike area, and so I think you're going to see Pompey Park really come alive here in the next few years.
Just don't scare off the toads.
No, we won't stop.
We need the
Not going to touch the waterway. And then we're looking at extending our bicycle path that is from that ends right now at Walmart on the west. We're working with a couple of private sector folks who are working with homeowners or landowners along that area to give us some right of way to take that all the way out to the airport. And then the Stone Dam Creek Trail, we let bids on that, I think, this past week. So we're going to continue moving forward with that. You'll see it extend further to the south.
Fantastic. Lots happening.
Yeah, we are a bustling city. Speaking of toads and toad suck days, is it too early to talk about how
what that's going to look like
how
this
that's
year?
moving forward?
I think the chamber's working on it. They'll do it a lot like they did last year and have a lot of virtual events.
Sure.
But we will not. I don't think they're ready to go back live just quite yet.
Yeah, we're still in the middle of things. And also, speaking of monuments, and you with your firefighter background, I don't know if most people in Conway know that we have a 9/11 monument over by the fire station that I always am moved to drive by. I want to mention that because I think it kind of goes unnoticed. That's been there for maybe 4 years.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that's been, it'll be 20 years this year, this September.
Yeah,
and I was with the fire department when that took place, and I remember driving to work, and my wife calling me. She said, "Hey, have you heard what's going on in New York?" And I said, "No." She said, "Well, it looks like a large plane has crashed into the World Trade Center," and I shared this with my wife. I said, if there's any city in the nation that can handle a fire of that size, it's the FDNY. They're just exceptional in that field, and I knew that day that some firefighters would lose their life, but they went in knowing that.
Yeah.
So, but yes, I have to give a retired Division Chief Brian Moinks and current Chief Mike Winter the credit for that. They are the ones that worked so hard to get that piece of the World Trade Center brought to Conway. And they got it, it's probably closer to 6 years ago, but they both worked very hard to get that here. And it is a reminder of how quickly our world can change. Not only, 9/11 changed our world, much like COVID changed our world.
Oh, sure.
And it is a piece of the World Trade Center. I just bring that up because I drive by it. It's off Caldwell.
Yeah.
So, I bring that up. I don't know why, but it seemed appropriate. So
It's okay.
I think that's all I have. I really appreciate your time. Thank you for
thank
coming.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Bart Castleberry, I will figure out how to address you at some point, sir.
Just
Bart.
Just Bart. Okay, I'll just go with Bart.
Actually, Tammy Keith wrote an article one time after I was elected mayor. She said, "How do you want to be known?" I said, "Just Bart." I'm elected by the people. I work for the people. I sometimes get tickled, I guess would be the best use of the word. I am a servant of the people. I do work for the people. This is still Arkansas. Mm-hmm. This is still Conway. This is Faulkner County. We're elected by the people. And I think it's important that we remember that that's who we work for. And sometimes I think folks lose sight of that.
Yeah.
We're not going to do anything earth-shaking in Conway that's going to change anything on the federal level. So I try to concentrate on police, fire, sanitation, streets, recreation. I try to concentrate on what the people elected me for.
Well, which is really where all of us can make a difference. I think people get too caught up in national politics, and this is really our community and where I live. We can't affect the things that are going on in New York City. At least I haven't found a way to yet. Maybe I'm not trying hard enough.
We can make a difference here.
We can make a difference here.
Yeah.
Is there any social media for the city that maybe we want to direct people to if they have any questions or comments? Or
Sure. We got a Facebook page. Bobby Kelly does a tremendous job running that. He's good at answering things. Any questions that people have, but putting us in contact with people. He's always got some interesting things out there. He's an artist with a drone. He gets some of the best shots around Conway. So yeah, our Facebook page or you can call our YouTube.
YouTube. Did I hear Instagram?
Yeah, Instagram. We're on all of them. Bobby is. Or you can call my office if you have any questions at 450-6110.
All right. Bart, I'll try that out.
Bart, that's me.
Thank you, sir, for joining us today. It's a pleasure. And we hope to have you back someday as this podcast progresses and as our city progresses.
Well, the Log Cabin Democrat has been a huge part of this community for a long time, and we appreciate y'all.
Well,
thank you.
Blessed to be a part of it. Jeanette, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, as always, Drew.
And we have our Conway This Week coming up on Friday. That'll be released. That's a new feature that we've just started with this podcast. If folks haven't listened to that yet, expect that again this Friday, where we kind of recap what the paper was covering this week, and we look ahead towards the weekends. I also want to talk about our website. We have a website launching this week for this podcast. That's conwayontherecord.net. So go to that webpage and enjoy it.
Yes, absolutely.
Our next podcast will be in 2 weeks. And am I missing anything? Give us 5 stars. We're on SoundCloud. We're on iTunes. We're on Spotify. We're on Google Play. We're about to be on Pandora as well. So wherever you get your podcast, look us up. Give us 5 stars. Bart, thank you so much, sir.
Thank you,
Thank you, Mayor.